Hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and thanks to 28mobile.com, here I have a OnePlus X that I want to take a little bit of a look at and give my thoughts on, and then I want to give it away. I will be giving away this one to the United States, and I will have another one which will be given away for international, so please stay tuned on my channel for that video. It will follow soon. This is in celebration of nearly hitting 500,000 subscribers, so again, please stay tuned. If you're frustrated with getting an invite or don't want to wait to a certain time of the week in order to get one of these phones, you can look at it at 28mobile.com and get your hands on one. So here is the phone itself in black, glass on the front and the back. Really nice footprint. It's about the size of a Galaxy S6, even a little smaller. I really like this packaging presentation, really nice and clean. So we have our SIM ejection tool, we've got some documentation, and then we have our micro USB charging cable and also the original charger brick that came with this. As a little bonus, I'm really grateful that OnePlus includes a case. This device is glass on the front, obviously, and also on the back, so it can be pretty easy to drop because it can be quite slippery. There are many times when I have it on a little bit less than an uneven surface and it will just slide off. So many times I find it on the floor. So very nice to have a little case that's going to prevent slippage, at least so easily. Now you've got some friction there. It's also nice that the little included case does have a nice form factor to it, so you're not getting rid of the nice slim footprint of this phone because you're using this. You've got some cutouts there. I think that everything looks really nice. This is a case that I would indeed use myself. You see, it's got a little bit of a matte finish and it's got a frosty look to it as well. So starting off with taking a look around the phone, on the front we have a screen protector that comes pre-installed. That's nice because if you don't want to have your screen scratched, it's there for you already. It's easy to take off if you don't want it on there. This is a 5-inch display that is covered with Gorilla Glass 3. On the front we also have a front-facing camera, 8 megapixels. We have a receiver and a proximity sensor and ambient light sensor. On the bottom, we have capacitive touch buttons, the left and the right, which are reprogrammable or swappable. Unfortunately, these do not have backlighting. Those button symbols always stay there, so it looks much nicer if you get the black version. Then on the bottom, the left grill is a speaker, where the right one is a microphone, so there is only one speaker. Don't be fooled here. Same thing with the iPhone and a lot of other phones I've seen. We have a micro USB port for charging. Unfortunately, it does not support Quick Charge 2.0. Then on the right side, we have the slot that supports either 2 LTE SIM cards, or you can put an SD card in one of its places. We have the volume rocker, and we also have the power button. Then on the left-hand side, we have the switch that allows you to switch between priority or no notifications, just like with the OnePlus 2. It's really nice to see this feature on here. On the top, we have a standard headphone jack and also a microphone. Then on the back, we have a 13 megapixel camera with a single LED flash. Now this doesn't have optical image stabilization like the OnePlus 2 does, so keep that in mind. It's a very basic camera. Now for a budget phone / mid-range phone, I really like the design of this. It's very, very clean in appearance. The buttons have a nice texture to them, and also that band has some really nice looking ridges. It just creates a nice overall package. In terms of which LTE bands this phone supports, it's got band 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, and 8. It's missing band 12 and it's missing band 17. Needless to say, if you're on AT&T, you're not going to get the best LTE support. If you're on T-Mobile, you're going to fare a little bit better. Although in my experience in my area, I couldn't get LTE on T-Mobile either, but I do see people have a lot better luck with having LTE, nice speeds on T-Mobile, but still, I've been getting about 7 megabits per second on HSPA+. So people in the United States need to pay attention to if LTE is something that's really, really important to you or not. Now, while we are on the topic of connectivity, it's helpful to mention that this does not have support for the 5 GHz Wi-Fi band, only the 2.4 GHz band. This also does not have NFC. Now, for the Wi-Fi one, it's not really such a big deal. And for NFC, a lot of people aren't going to need to use that. But if you are someone who's adopting Android Pay, that's really probably going to put a stick in your side with this phone. Now taking a bit of a look at this display, this is a 5-inch Super AMOLED display. Now at this price point, I usually expect to see some cheapish kind of an LCD screen that just doesn't look very nice, kind of washed out looking colors. This is a very vibrant display because this is AMOLED, and yes, this is very saturated. It's actually very oversaturated, especially in the reds. Now, unfortunately, unlike Samsung devices, you have to stay with that oversaturation because there is no mode to switch between less saturated modes. But still, the black levels on this display, or the contrast ratio, is much better than what you're going to get on other phones that are in this price range. The pixel density is really pretty nice because this is a 5-inch display. It is of a pentile matrix though, so it doesn't look as sharp as the Galaxy S6 these days with the Quad HD display, but still it fares pretty well. Now besides the extreme levels of oversaturation, the other thing I noticed is that this display's white point, or what white looks like, is really quite cool. That it's not my favorite thing, but still I would take this display over a cheapo type of an LCD display that I see on a lot of these price range phones any day. I really do like the way that it looks. By the way, I'm really happy with the dark theme of this phone. It just really complements the AMOLED display and how nice those blacks look. As for the interface itself, this is Oxygen OS 2.1.3x on top of 5.1.1 Lollipop. The interface has been really nice and smooth. I've been very much quite pleased, especially in comparison with some other phones that I've played with in this price range. Now looking at the specs of this phone, it's a little bit confusing. This is the Snapdragon 801 SoC. You see it says AA, so this is the lowest bin version of the 801, but it also says Pro in there. So we have 4 CPU cores that are clocked at 2.3 GHz, but then when you look at the GPU, it says 578 MHz, where it should be lower clocked than that. So I wonder if that has to do with what Pro means, just an overclocked GPU. Or maybe the app is reporting back nonsense, so this is just AA. Please, someone feel free to clear those shenanigans up. Otherwise, I was happy to see that this has 3 GB of RAM, and also there's 16 GB of internal storage, about 12 which are actually usable. Now, as far as day-to-day performance, I really didn't notice anything wrong until I decided to play some games. So in Asphalt 8, everyone's been talking about this. It looks really, really choppy, and I just could not understand why. This is the 801. Yes, it's the lowest bin version of the 801, but still, it should be more than capable enough to run Asphalt 8 smoothly. So I fired up System Monitor to see a little bit of what was going on behind the scenes here, and I can see that the GPU usage is very, very low, running about 18 to 30, 40%, whereas on other smartphones, like the Idol 3 5.5, this has the Snapdragon 615 SoC inside of it, and it runs just fine, and you can see that the GPU is hitting 97, 99%. Mind you, this is happening on 2.1.3x. A lot of people are telling me that this has to do with CPU governor issues, and some people are going in and changing the governor settings, and it's fixing things, but there really needs to be a true fix. It's not a problem with the hardware, there's just something going on here. In my experience, some apps perform better than others, but I still see some issues in some apps, even like Candy Crush Saga during certain animations. You can take a look at the links in the description if you want to see what people are doing to try to help this right now, until there's a fix. Looking around a bit at Oxygen OS, it isn't as customizable as Cyanogen, but I found it to be very clean, very close to stock Android, and functional with a few good customization options. I like being able to program the buttons a bit to my liking, so you can turn on or off the on-screen navigation bar. For an AMOLED display to protect against burn-in, I definitely recommend using the hardware capacitive buttons. You can swap the order of the recent and back buttons, which is really nice because I don't like the default. You can also program in some long press and double tap options, which I actually use more than I thought I would. I found the option to hold down the back button to open up your most recent application to be particularly useful. I also really like using the gesture controls that you can turn on and off at will. You can double tap on the screen when it's off to turn it on. You can draw an O to turn on the camera. You can draw a V to turn on and off the flashlight. You also have some music controls, so I find those quite handy. Unfortunately, you can't program your own though. Under customization settings, you can go from a dark mode, which I recommend most, to a light mode. You can also change your accent color and choose the color for your LED notifications too. Then under display settings, we have the option for ambient display, which is just a constant thing in Android, and proximity wake, which allows the phone to turn on when it senses your hand near, though I don't find it to work very well unless your hand is directly over that sensor, so it's not something I typically use. Now, as for the size of the battery and battery life, this has a locked-in 2,525 milliamp hour battery. I'm getting anywhere from 3 to 4 hours of on-screen time, although mostly I get about 4 hours. Everything is going to depend upon your own individual usage, but this does get me through the day. A word about the speaker now on the bottom is that it's just one, as I pointed out earlier. It's on the left, where the right-hand side is a microphone. The speaker quality is not very nice. It's kind of jarring sounding, very raspy and kind of tinny when you listen to it. That is for music anyway, but for navigation, it gets definitely loud enough. For speakerphone, it gets loud enough, so it gets the job done, but it's not what I'm going to be listening to anything on. The last thing that I want to talk about in this review is the back camera. It's got a 13 megapixel sensor and f2.2 aperture lens. It's able to record 1080p video, so no 4K, and also does not have optical image stabilization, although it looks to have electronic image stabilization that's enabled all the time. It can also take 720p slow motion video at 120 frames per second. This is a very basic camera, so don't expect huge things from it, but it does get the job done. The camera app is very simple and basic, although I would use something else like Camera FV5 so you can have some manual controls. Also, currently you have no ability to save to the SD card for photos, which I find kind of odd. That should be coming in an update. The aspect of the sensor is 4:3. If you want to take a 16:9 photo, it's going to knock down the resolution to 7.9 megapixels. Now, in terms of picture quality, it really is just all right, especially in daylighting, and skin tones really are not that bad. I've been pretty pleased. But as soon as you go to indoors or you have low lighting, this camera really struggles pretty badly. Photos quickly become a dark and noisy mess. Jonathan, what are you doing? It's not a picture, it's a video.
Isn't a video just a series of pictures with an audio track?
Maybe. See how it changes exposure. This is a video test indoors to check the frame rate. This is low light. Here we have more lighting there. And here we go, it gets choppy again. So frame rates are really quite bad when it's anything but bright lighting. So overall, I think this is a decent little phone, definitely cute, really nice compact package. There are some things right now that really need to be fixed, such as the frame rates with the camera. There needs to be fixed with the SD card and also with the GPU performance. All those things can be fixed, so I'm hopeful here. But we also have some issues that can't be fixed, such as having lack of NFC, lack of some LTE bands, especially if you are going to use this on AT&T. But there are a lot of markets where this phone is going to work just fine, and it does have a really nice price. But honestly, with this phone, I don't really see much that would keep a person from going instead to Swappa and getting a lightly used last generation phone, especially if you're after an AMOLED display. You can get a Galaxy S5, you can get a Nexus 6. But if you like the form factor and the look of this phone, the design of this phone, it still is a nice phone for the price point. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. If you're having a hard time getting your hands on one of these from OnePlus's website, you can get it from 28mobile.com. And please also check out the link in the description to the giveaway video. It's only going until the 26th of January, so be sure to check that out.